What's the partnership like with yourself between the guitar, the lyrics, and the voice?
That's a really great question that nobody's ever asked me.
Thank you.
I think I'm a pretty strong rhythm player. So I try to just get in there and sort of bob and weave is sort of I'm sort of a textural thing in the band.
Okay.
And I think I do pretty well. And in that respect, I like the fact that my guitar is lending atmosphere.
Okay.
I think, and sort of lending a little voodoo to it sometimes. I'm a big user of tremolo. So I'm a big lover of tremolo, which is that shimmery effect on the guitar, in case anybody doesn't know. And so I do think that it's an enhancing thing.
Okay.
This is the only band in which I play guitar, except in the occasional time that I perform with the Decoys in Muscle Shoals. I do play guitar there, but that's maybe only once or twice a year.
Yeah. So mostly you're known as a vocalist.
Yes.
And so your guitar is really there to augment your vocals?
Yes, I would say. And because I've written the songs, you know, it gives me a way to also portray the music and participate in the music a little bit.
Yeah.
And I by no means am a lead player, but I think I've been told I'm a pretty strong rhythm player. I would never, you know, raise up my own flag.
Well, there's nothing wrong about
way.
being a good rhythm player. You know, they're hard
John
to find
Lennon.
sometimes.
John Lennon.
John
I have two
Lennon.
words for you, John Lennon.
That's right. That's right.
One of the best.
For people who don't know, pre-16 years, that trip to Boston where you recorded Al Cooper's song.
Yeah, Wake Me, Shake Me.
Wake Me, Shake Me.
Yeah.
What was Christine Ohlman musically attracted to early on?
Well, anything. I mean, I had so many likes. I love the girl bands, you know.
Yeah.
I love the Rolling Stones, you know, the Stones. And then pretty early on, I veered off from records like the Blues Project, Al Cooper's band. I veered off into Paul Butterfield, and from there, I pretty early veered off into Son House and Robert Johnson. I didn't really take much of a detour before I started listening to those guys in earnest. You know, Son House, the sun rises and sets, no pun intended, to me on Eddie Son House.
Wow, wow.
He's the deepest. But also, you know, very much into, you know, because I collect Southern soul music. Southern soul music, what they call deep Southern soul, the 60s and 70s. That's really my...
The High Records.
High Records,
Clay.
Stax, everything out of Muscle Shoals fame. You know, it's been a joy for me to spend time in Muscle Shoals. Where all those studios are still operating.
Yeah. Well, back to that other question now. Were you a guitar player early on? So
no.
You were
I never played guitar until I'd been doing this for years.
Okay.
And someone said, you know, you have some lyrics and everything. You probably could write songs. And I was like, oh no, I couldn't. You know. Then I realized, yes, I could. And I actually think, you know, I came out of a band called the Scratch Band, which is, the guitar player was G.E.Smith, so he didn't really need me.
No.
Or at least I didn't think he did.
Yeah.
Since then, we've had a chance to collaborate many times, many times outside of the Saturday Night Live band.
Yeah.
And G is a wonderful friend, obviously, but then I realized I could write, and I think as now I have to say I'm probably the best writer of the bunch. You know, so I'm happy to say that.
Yeah. Who were some of the singers that were affecting you back in the early days? You know, before the Scratch Band, who were the voices that?
Ray Charles. I mean, a huge fan of Ray Charles. To some extent, a huge fan of Billie Holiday.
Okay. Yeah.
Mahalia Jackson, any gospel, you know, any gospel singer. Always a big fan of Dusty Springfield. Huge fan of Dusty Springfield's. I had very specific tastes, but you know, Ray Charles was a very early great influence on me.
Right. Can you put your finger on what it was about those people that caught your ear?
No, because my brothers and sisters, I drove them crazy. My father, the first record I ever owned, and I was, you know, little, was Baby Workout by Jackie Wilson. My father went out and bought it for me. But my parents, and they were amazingly, they had no interest in any of that. You know. But here I was, I couldn't listen to anything pretty much but soul music. And I'm not sure why. You know, I'm not sure why. Always greatly attracted to it, though.
Right. And as a singer, what was your singing, what were the early singing experiences before this Wake Me, Shake Me recording?
As a little kid, I always had a big voice and could not be shut up pretty much. At every family gathering, it was let's put on a show where I'd be singing some radio hit of the day in a big, giant voice, you know. I often think, again, my family was amazingly tolerant, you know, of me, and amazingly supportive. We were, my brothers and I, first band, which, by the way, our little record was just released in the UK this summer, and we never thought that would have ever happened.
Kidding.
Wake Me, Shake Me. It was the B-side, though. The B-side was on a compilation, Mainstream Records.
Really?
And my parents were the ones that let us rehearse in the basement, and let us keep the PA, the giant PA in the basement. It was amazing.
Yeah.
That they would let us do that, but they were greatly supportive.
Yeah, yeah. In the process of becoming a singer, when did you learn how to commit yourself to a song? Was that in the scratch band?
Wow, that's another great question. No, honestly, to be honest with you, I think it was after the scratch band. I think it was when I became someone that had my own songs and was the leader of the band, and I think I realized that the best way I was going to get over was to really, really, really connect with the audience.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a wonderful question. Wow. And I think have really made it my mission to be someone who connects with the audience and who really puts their emotions almost ahead of mine.
Yeah, yeah. So that's because some people will say, oh, I learned through going to church, you know, and I learned how to commit by being part of the choir. But that's an interesting answer, that by connecting with the audience and putting them first, you learn how to commit to the song.
And it was a slow process, but at one point I realized that's what was happening, and it was pretty much of a revelation, and it was pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to learn how to lose yourself in that moment.
I think you do, really, to be truly. Truly in it.
Sure, sure, we've mentioned the scratch band a few times. Can you tell our viewers exactly what that band was about and where it took place?
The scratch band was a late 70s band in Connecticut that came about out of another group that we had, and at one point the guitar player left, and a guy from Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania showed up in the New Haven area. His name was G.E.Smith, and he answered an ad, and in the newspaper ad, and became our guitar player. And so then there was the classic lineup, which included him, Mickey Curry on drums, myself, Paula Sola on bass, and Bob Orsi on harmonica. And it was a very, very, very successful band. Seminal band. We had a huge book. We had about 300 songs that we knew, very eclectic. And to this day, G.E.'s and my greatest joy in conversing is just to talk about some obscuro thing that we found 2 days ago. You know?
Wow.
And try to stump the other one with it.
Was the scratch band like this close to making it?
Yeah, it really was.
Really?
Yeah, it really was.
And how long did the band function?
The scratch band was together, I think, about 5 years, 5 or 6 years altogether, maybe all total, from its very early days when my brother Vic Steffens was the drummer, and then it just kind of dissolved, you know, and everybody kind of went their own way, you know, we've stayed very close.
Sure. And I know you got your gig in Saturday Night Live in '91. What were you doing between that period?
I had a couple bands, Christine Ohlman and the Soul Rockers. Chiefly, and was just kind of around, you know, writing a little bit. I was not writing that much, really. Just kind of, I spent, you know, Marshall Crenshaw and I was talking about, largely spent the 80s. I spent the 80s listening to people like Howlin' Wolf, seriously, and just steeping myself in all of that. It was, I really went backwards, you know, in the 80s in terms of listening to stuff. And then G and I came back together again, and it was great. You know.
And how did you get the Saturday Night Live gig? Was that because G.E. was the musical director at that time?
Yes, but it's a great, I'll keep it short. He called me up because I used to make these mixtapes from my soul music collection and always send them to him. He called me up and he said, "Chris, I have a gig in Long Island. You want to do it with and he didn't say it was with the Saturday Night Live band at first. You want to do it?" And we can play some of those songs from the tapes you've been sending me. And I was like, okay. Then it transpired that it was a gig with the Saturday Night Live band, and then it transpired that it was Lorne Michaels' wedding celebration.
Oh my God!
At his estate in the Hamptons of his marrying his second wife, Alice. So now it becomes a big thing. There's a gig the night before at the Stephen Talk House, and they bring me to New York, and they've done these wonderful arrangements of obscure, like Betty Lavette, very early Betty Lavette tune called "He Made a Woman Out of Me."
Oh wow!
They've done all of this out of my collection. It's wonderful. We get to the gig, we do the Talk House. Then the next night we do Lorne's gig. It's like, you know, De Niro was walking around the grounds, and it's fabulous. You know, so great. I go home and I'm kind of, oh, this is really too bad. Now it's over. You know, the next week was the beginning of the season in September. They're in the studio. Lorne walks across the studio and motions G.E. down and says to him, "Where's the girl?"
Where's the girl?
And G.E. goes, what do you mean, where's the girl? The girl that was with you at the wedding. And, well, I thought you just wanted me to have a singer at the wedding. No, she was great. Call her up and tell her to come next week.
Oh, my God.
I always tell people, I got it from a wedding gig.
Oh, that's amazing.
I got it from a wedding gig.
That is amazing.
I did. Isn't that the best?
And how long was your tenure there?
I'm still there.
Oh, you're still there.
20
oh,
years.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
20 years.
So if I turn you on this Saturday, because I sort of got out of watching Saturday
Well, we'll see. You'll hear my voice. It's unlikely that you'll actually see me, but you'll hear my voice. And they don't show the band. But yeah, 21 years now, actually. Oh no, I never left.
That's very cool. There's been a million of them, but biggest thrill on Saturday Night Live would be
Paul McCartney's first appearance. Chris Farley and I are watching a little bit of a run-through at dinner time, and he's doing all extra songs. He goes into Hey Jude, and Chris Farley looks at me and says, Christine, will you dance with me? And, we waltz around the studio while he's playing Hey Jude. Hands down. My favorite, because Chris, of course,
is not with
dear
us anymore.
man,
That's
a dear
right.
man.
Oh my
And we
God.
just had Paul again on for the Christmas show this year, and he was wonderful. But that first appearance is something I'll never forget.
Oh my God, that's
other
beautiful.
ones. Nirvana's first appearance.
Yeah.
I was there for Sinead O'Connor ripping up the Pope. I was also there for Ashley Simpson screwing up.
Right,
so I was there for both of those.
Oh my God.
And I was there for the Nirvana's first appearance, which was wonderful because you knew you were seeing something that was completely and totally new.
Yeah.
You just knew it.
Yeah.
You know. And when they came on the second time, it was already kind of old, you know, but that first time.
Yeah.
So it's a couple of moments.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you've had so many other thrills too. You've kind of like been the singer, the in-demand singer.
Last year, 2012, Carnegie Hall, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in Cleveland. Special guest of the Blind Boys of Alabama in Muscle Shoals, and 2 evenings of duets with Mac Rebennack.
Oh my God.
I mean, at house concert things for the New Orleans Musicians Clinic.
Amazing.
I mean, last year was I don't even know. I couldn't even keep track.
That's
last year.
And then you look back on your career, and there was the R&B Foundation thing with Cropper. The Dylan 30th. I mean,
the 30th.
I had to go pull my Dylan 30th album out and go, oh my God.
Somebody just wrote me on Facebook about that this week. I see you on Knocking on Heaven's Door. And I said, well, I was there for the whole night. And the rehearsals, which were great.
And again, there you met George Harrison, another Beatle.
I met George Harrison. It was so wonderful.
Amazing.
Sang with him.
What, when you're called on to something like that, when you're called into the Mac Rebennack thing or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing, what do you tell yourself to do in those settings when you're duetting with George
Because
Harrison?
I'm such a historian, my goal is to hold up my end for the greater glory of American popular music.
Beautiful.
Always. Because even with Harrison, we were singing Dylan songs, so, you know. That's always, is to just get in there and maintain. Maintain, you know, for American popular music.
Very cool, very cool. As you now travel the world and you see all these other singers, what do you take anything from them?
Sure. I'm always looking for a level of deep. The deeper, you know, is always what I'm looking for. The Sun House. I'm always looking for the deepest thing that I possibly can get. You know?
So what would you say now, Christine, looking back, what has a lifetime of music taught Christine Ohlman?
First of all, I'm intensely grateful for the chance. Every time I get a chance to entertain an audience, I'm intensely grateful. And I think maybe that's what it has taught me, is gratitude. For every day, gratitude for the wonder of life and the wonder of art and the ability to share it and the ability to be just a part of it. I mean, I always really just wanted to be in the game, you know, and to have been to be in the game at the level that I'm at is a constant joy for me.
Yeah, that's right. And as you said, your voice and the images that you're able to touch on reach the people. You know, your images are images of every day.
I do believe so. And it's wonderful to hear it from people, and it's always very moving for me.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Christine.
Art, thank you.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Art Tipaldi, editor of Blues Revue magazine, and you're watching Don Odell's Legends. Thank you.